We'll start with Ayanda Fana. I'll run you through Ayanda's resume. Ayanda is the COO of Kula App. It's a digital ecosystem for stakeholders in the agricultural and food value chain. Do you see how broad the spectrum is online? She's also an admitted attorney of the High Court and founder and host of a podcast, Equip and Elevate. So the only podcaster in this country who can get herself in trouble on the podcast and fight it legally. So a round of applause please for Ayanda. We have another remarkable woman with us this morning, Nongeba Kabazi. Nongeba is a program director at Grindstone, also managing the All Women Accelerator program at Grindstone, a believer in impact-driven interventions. She's worked with international organizations to develop global and regional impact measurements and management. A round of applause for her as well, please. Welcome, Nongeba. Mpumile Dwaba is also with us here this morning. You know her, don't you? She clearly needs no introduction, but I'll go for it anyway. Mpumile Dwaba is a businesswoman. She too is a podcaster. We've seen it. YouTuber and content producer with an impressive following on social media. She's worked on significant digital campaigns, including a cooking TV show and even a collaboration with the retail giant Woolworths. Do you see what the internet can do for you? Mpumi, welcome. And rounding off the stellar panel this morning is Buhle Mbonambi. Buhle Buyeza Bonga Mbonambi is a writer, a journalist, and editor. Currently the content manager at African Fashion International, their family. He is also the editor of the new HON by FI magazine and has previously edited the Sunday magazine. My thanks to you all. Welcome, Buhle, as well. Round of applause, please. Let's start with you, Ayanda. I mean, an admitted attorney. How does an admitted attorney become a digital entrepreneur?
Sure. I think more than anything for a lot of the conversations, I mean, mine will be specifically around tech. I think for women, it's always where you hear stories, you stumble upon technology. I mean, you know, you look at the CEOs of a lot of major companies that are women. A lot of them have an accounting background, they're CAs, and the common theme is that you were either in that space through maybe you're working sales, and then you kind of stumbled upon that. And I think for me, it was really an opportunity that availed itself. And, you know, when it opened, I was like, this has to be the opportunity. But I think the conversation is even bigger to show that in these kind of spaces, I mean, this is an opportunity for innovation and disruption to come up with better models for, you know, how we do things in Africa or do things in the world. But the conversation is so limited for women. I always make a joke that if you are looking to do software engineering, come to me, because we struggle to get female software devs. And I think, again, it really shows how there's sort of that lack of how women find themselves in that space, and even Africans in general, you know, how tech in itself is growing. There is an appetite for growth, and we need to find better ways to better equip women and young people to get into the space, to share the opportunities such as this, to say, how can we use like youth expos, because stumbling upon a career is not always, it's great, but how different would it be if people knew about the opportunities that exist within the space, and so understood what it could mean for them career-wise to be in this kind of spaces, and also seeing how the economy in itself, what is happening in digital and tech, you know, also that also allows you to say, how can I also be in this kind of opportunity? So again, I stumbled upon this amongst a lot of women in this space, but I'm excited to see how we can tell more stories around Zuckerberg, who started coding at 13, and then as a first-time woman, you are seeing a computer when you get to university. How do you compete with that? How do we provide the same tools as a Zuckerberg who was coding at 13, build a whole business for his dad, versus you coming in and saying, I'm just learning how to use a computer, but I want to be a software engineer. So I think for me, that's where I want to see the conversation around more roles being less stumbled upon, like my role.
And how did you stumble upon it? I mean, You're an admitted attorney, so you're studying, like most of us. You went the traditional route.
Yeah.
And then when did you realize, hang on a minute, here's something that I can actually do that is also a good living?
So, I think when you're in a tech space or a tech industry, a lot of the work you kind of are also learning as you go about it. But it was the co-founders of the business. They came to me and they're like, we would like you to join us as a COO. I thought it was a joke. For 8 months, we're like courting and saying, can we do this? And I think I fell in love with the vision of how can we build innovation, transformation for farmers in Africa to build first-generation farmers that can become commercial, because there's such a lack of that within the space. And when you look at agri in itself, and you look at technology in itself, super untransformed industry, and what we then can do is be part of that. And I think for me, when they shared the vision at Tinder, and was it Tuna and Tender? Like for over a few times, I really fell into this vision, and I'm just like, this is something that I can be a part of. This is something where I can grow and contribute and add value, so that we are, in essence, bring a lot of transformation and also innovation within a space that's known traditionally as not transformative or not innovative, and we can actually foster more change and also bring more opportunities for farmers that would not traditionally get those opportunities.
Right.
So that's what got me excited.
I want to pick up on something you're talking about, Ayanda, about women, and Nongweba, that is a core focus of your work, isn't it?
Yes,
Empowering women and seeking interventions that speak especially to the experiences of young black women who sometimes come from very complex backgrounds.
Yes, no, definitely. I think for me, also just being a young black woman myself and having had opportunities brought to me, like right to my desk, speaking to me being in grade 12 and having other women really just make the path for me, and really just providing an opportunity for me to actually have access to information. And I think for me, that's one of the biggest tools that I use really social media for, is just sharing that information, sharing just understanding of really complex terms and things, and breaking it down in ways that would be consumed by someone that I'm targeting. So we target women in tech and non-tech businesses. So if you're a woman founder, please feel free to come and reach out to me. But really supporting them with understanding the basic fundamentals of their business building, but also just understanding as well how to, break down the barriers in networking, break down that unconscious bias as well, and really just trusting in yourself. I think one of the things I always say to the ladies I work with is just back yourself. No one else is going to do it. If you don't have that belief in yourself and that understanding and courage to do the things that you want to, then you really will struggle a bit, but it doesn't mean you won't get there.
I'm picking up on a level of uncertainty, right, in just getting started. But what do you find to be the most common struggles, I wonder, especially for young women entrepreneurs who want to go into the space?
Sure, I think one of the most things that I've seen is just the understanding of approach, not only to your network and to the people that you want that support from, but also just approaching some of the business ways and tools that you are sort of trying to understand. So things like understanding how to, evaluate your business and approach an investor. You don't just go to them saying, hi, I'm a young black woman. I know you have opportunities for young black women and I'm looking for 100K. Every stage of business has different valuation and has a different sort of term sheet or different way of you really just utilizing the opportunities that you're approaching. So I think for me, it's, again, going back to that access to information and access to just knowledge and networks. And I think for us, one of the things that we see a lot, again, that I'm mentioning is that unconscious bias and being afraid just to approach people. So what we do as Grindstone is really utilize our network and leverage off of that to get women into the room, just get their foot into the door, hold their hand through those negotiations until they're confident enough to be able to take it further into legal conversations then.
And Bumi, you've not only walked into the building, you are running around it, you've taken over. I was looking now actually while I was listening to Nweba speaking, on Instagram alone, you command a following of 637,000 people. That's the number of people on Instagram alone who've bought into what you were doing. Was it easy to get started?
To be honest, I think to just give context how I got started, and I think it's important to always mention this, like Coach mentioned, the importance of the people who support your journey. My husband was popular, he was on a popular TV show, and then naturally people wanted to know, okay, who's he married to? And so I got a following, like 2,000-3,000 followers, right? But I was starting a salon. And it's important I mentioned that I was starting a beauty salon because I thought maybe those are the only industries women get into, right? And so I started a salon and I did well, but the problem with my salon is that I couldn't afford traditional marketing.
Okay.
So this is a time before influencing is a thing in South Africa. I didn't even know I could be an influencer. I didn't know all of those things, but I knew that I had a following. I needed to market my business and I don't have money for traditional marketing. But there was Canva. Don't know how I found Canva. And I started designing my own posters and I started sharing them. And that's how I got fully booked. And so before you know it, I'm doing these posters. I'm talking about my personal journey as this woman who's dropped out of school and starting this business. And people are like, oh, wow, I see myself in you. So how I literally built my business is by telling my truth, telling my struggles, telling my deficiencies, telling that I can't afford this is what we're doing, but also not in a sense of I'm insecure, in a sense of I'm vulnerable. And so when you're vulnerable and you show your truth, people see you, they see you in their faults, but they also see you in their successes. So my success is no longer mine alone, but it's all of us who came up together, and everybody in their own respective fields has also engaged in that. So has it been hard? Yes and no. Yes, because I've had to navigate my journey and make sure that I stay relevant and I run it as a business without having any experience. But it has been easy because I am using my personality. I come up as myself, and that's how I make money.
And that's an important point, right? Because when we talk about influencing, there's so many influencers. Think about it. If you go onto YouTube now, how many makeup tutorials can you find? How many people are unboxing? I mean, there are billions of views, in fact, on videos of people just chewing, right? But where I'm going with this is actually quite serious. And it speaks to the point you were making about being authentic, because that's what works. Anyone can watch a wig tutorial, but it's all in people being able to relate to you. And I want you to speak to the importance of that, especially for young people who may go into that as a means to generate an income.
Yeah. And I want to touch on this because the world is changing, and the job market is really changing. AI is a big thing now that I'm trying to not get into, but I have to because it's part of the conversation. And I'm reading a book about disruptive thinking, right? And every incredible thing that has happened I was looking at kids crossing the road the other day, and they have scruffy, not even scruffy hair, they have their afros out, boys, high school boys in their blazers. And I'm like, geez, to my husband, wow, when I was in school, they had to have him back, they had to shave it off. But that's the power of disruption. Someone had to say, no, it's okay to wear your hair like that, right? And it was a fight. So now the disruption that's happening is that there's unemployment. It's bad. And the disruption that's happening is that technology is replacing your job. But the beautiful thing about disruption is that we can come together and make it and use it for a good change. Now, going back to that authenticity thing, there's only one of me. If I try be a Nyanda, I'm already losing. But if I am Mpumi, and I get to know Mpumi, and I spend time with Mpumi, and I switch off social media to take time to get to know me, I'm automatically winning wherever I go. So I think that's very important to look at the job market, look at where you fit in, and how do you bring yourself. Not everybody's going to be an influencer, not everybody's going to work for a huge company. We all have different parts to play, but it's important to get in touch with you. Just to bring this in as well, when I'm looking to hire, yes, it's nice if you have a degree, God bless you, you should study. But more than that, I'm looking for where have you worked? Okay, I've worked I did promotions here, I helped out on a project here. I'm like, okay, good. This person knows what it's like in the work environment. Versus someone who's got no services, they've never done anything, they're going to come and be my problem.
So basically a hunger to get in.
A hunger to get in, and more than that, it's a hunger to serve. You have to serve because that is the only way you get to know yourself and find your authentic voice, and that is how you contribute. So everything I bring online is a combination of my life experiences, more than just, hey, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Okay, Busha, let's talk about serving. You are currently serving as a content manager with AFI. Let's talk about the changing world of work, the digital economy, plus fashion. How do we pull it all together?
It's been an incredible journey when you think about how the world has changed. I was talking to a friend of mine who is an editor of a magazine. We were saying how 10 years ago, the way the industry is, we never thought it would be. And how the skills we now learn, and how, when we mention AI, and how we now have to use AI in a very, we're learning as we go, because it's a new skill, it's generative AI, and I have to use it every day to just see if this article that I'm writing, will it have an audience? I have to I take the headline that I'm writing and put it into Bard or ChatGPT or Copymatic and say, please develop a headline that's SEO proficient and will rank high on search engines, and we'll release it out, and it works. So it's all of those things of us learning new things at how, as Mpumi said, there's been a lot of disruption. That has happened in fashion as well. I mean, recently there was an AI fashion show. I was outraged. So I thought that
You were ready to try it.
I was outraged to say, no guys, come on, this can't be. But it was actually a way of this company just teaching designers to see beyond just clothes as is. We're talking about sustainability and all of those things, and it all came to be to say, let's do a AI fashion show just to show your skill as a designer. It's not just about fabric now. It's about you as a designer, what you can do, showing that skill. So there's a lot of things that have happened, both in media and in fashion, and it's just learning every single day to make sure that you're delivering exactly what your audience and your potential customers want from you.
How do you keep up, though, especially as someone who's a content manager, with the fact that not only, as you're saying, have traditional fashion shows changed, we now consume fashion differently. I mean, with things like Instagram, designers, yes, still want to put on the showcase, but now you can put things on Instagram and we can all see and share. There's TikTok as well. So how do you take that and then also go with the fact that publishing has itself changed, right? Magazines aren't selling as much as they used to. Now there are newspapers, but there's still a niche market where people want those.
I think it's, as you mentioned, a niche market. I always say that when you do an article or even a collection, you need to bring out your best. So I always say, make sure that you do your best sellers, your greatest hits. We saw that recently with Tom Ford. When he recently you saw this label, he said that, you know what, my very last collection as the creative director and founder of Tom Ford, I'm going to bring out my greatest hits. So garments that he did for Gucci, garments that he did for Tom Ford, the brand, until today, that was his final collection. So it's all about curating the best that you have and putting it together and then serving it out to an audience will appreciate.
And in fact, it's a question I want to put to all of you. We're talking about leading. How then do you lead in such a vast space where you're not just competing for follows, but you're competing for our money, our attention? Ayanda?
Sure. I mean, I think I'm going to bring it back to technology particularly and focus on that specifically through, I think, Kula. I think, there's a lot of ways on how you could address the new changes or the disruption. I mean, technology is disruption in many instances. So everything that is being done in that case, it's all about disruption. But I think what's important is that every time we are evolving and sort of moving in the space, we need to come up with solutions that are they actually solving the pain point, for anyone that's using that? Because we can build tech, but if no one's going to use it, what's the point of that? And so you need to be very close to your users, very close to the humans that will be using that. So I think even in this kind of space of technology, it's important that as you lead or as you grow in the space, is that you are aware of, what I'm building sort of solving a pain problem, our pain point, and is it solving a problem? And more than anything, can people actually identify and relate to this? And there's a lot of sort of thought around is it all about people actually adopting? Because you can also teach people to adopt, but I think it's important to also lead with that in mind, that humans are very important as we grow in the tech space. Humans are also central to the solutions we're bringing. I mean, some of the fun examples we like doing, we work with farmers, and so we'll have phones, and they'll be like, this font is too small. I can't, how am I going to press here? So we have to go back and build fonts that make sense to farmers, because you're dealing with a traditionally older type of people. So it's just listening and being aware that in your innovation, you're not shoving it down, but you're actually having a conversation to say, okay, this farmer is complaining about the font because it's too small, because traditionally it would make sense for our generation, but maybe for certain people it doesn't make sense. How do we change that? So I think for me that's really key, and in making sure that not only does us leading in that all the work we're doing is also contributing to how we can grow as an economy. And I think it's so exciting when I think about all the opportunities that I take and with the work we do in financing farmers, alternative lending. I mean, these are things that are the conversations. So I think, just to summarize, to make sure that any point or any time when you are leading this space, it's important that when you are coming up with these solutions, those things remain central and your value proposition makes sense to your users and your customers. And I think as a woman entering into this space, it's a very different space. It's all about really understanding that you are moving into a space that's very new, but also owning that. And I think one of the speakers said, back yourself. And I think that's so important when you walk into that room, because it's a very different industry, different space. That's exciting, but it's important to back yourself, even where opportunities were not used before there, and now they are there, and then we have to walk in with that, even in that leading that kind of space.
And I think it was you, Nongaba, who spoke of backing yourself. But I want to then take from Ayanda's point, what I picked up was you need to be agile, you need an ability to adapt to an ever-changing environment. How do people who are sitting here today, fresh out of varsity, wanting to get in, learn to do that? Because it's not an innate thing for all of us.
No, I think it's really just that level of curiosity we have. All of us are curious in different ways, and you asked around how we're leading in this age, and for me it's been the curiosity of asking people older than me questions and just, hey, listen, I don't understand this. I know you asked me to do this. I don't get it. Can you help me or break it down a bit further? And yeah, I mean, we were a bit afraid of adults or people older than us sometimes, but really they are always open to sharing. But another thing as well is just, even as you're learning a new space, or if you're a young entrepreneur starting a new business, what we do is actually also search your personal social media accounts, and if you can show that you are interested in this topic, that you can be considered a thought leader and someone that we can ask questions about this field that you're in. For example, on our program we have a lady who does hydroponic farming, and none of us knew what hydroponics were or aquaponics. She's the expert in the room. Exactly. So she's the expert in the room, and she's the only person we can ask these questions about. And if on her social media, when we're checking her out, there's nothing that speaks to her being an expert in this field, then it's a little difficult, I think, to trust you as someone that we can bring on. But I think just showcasing your curiosity, showcasing your interests, and showcasing the things that you're passionate about, the things you want to build, the future you see for yourself as well. I'm a big advocate of LinkedIn. That's where sort of my play field is. And so I find a lot of people there where I then bring on board, or people that we can partner with, or entrepreneurs that we want to fund. And so if you're able to really just showcase the fact that, I will term it a thought leader now, but if you can showcase that you're a thought leader in that field, and just showcase yourself as an individual. Mpumi spoke to just being, you and authentic in yourself. If you can showcase that even on a professional platform like LinkedIn, I think you're really through. So
Am I right to say, and I feel like I've got my back to you too much, apologies. Let me ask you then, Nongaba, about what you mentioned, the LinkedIn issue, but the world has also changed to a point where, am I right to say, even if you're here and you are either in agriculture, you're in fashion, you're a food blogger, even on your Twitter, your Facebook, that has to show, because ultimately that's your billboard, right?
Exactly. It definitely does. It is what we call it as sort of your digital fan, and we normally do a scoring of your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your Facebook, or your social media platforms, and get a sense of really how well you're doing and showcasing yourself. We also use tools like ChatGPT to get a sense of really how well you're doing and just showcasing your work online. We're able then to use ChatGPT to help you sort of build your brand a little better, but also, of course, using sort of digital experts and marketing experts to come in there as well. But yeah, it is important for you to just really show your blueprint as a person in whatever platform you have. Even in conversations, I use, one of my party tricks is using my QR code on my LinkedIn. It's just saying, scan my code, and there you have me on. And that's something I really enjoy doing, but it's also a way of just encouraging people to start sharing more. Because if I'm on your LinkedIn and I see nothing but your profile picture.
You say you're cooking,
yeah,
but I see, hey, where are the meals?
Exactly, where are you? Exactly, yes.
And Bumi, just on that, key to that, am I right to say, is opening up spaces for collaboration in order to eventually become a leader in the space. And that is what is now happening, where even people like yourself who are in the space where you're making products, you basically have a social media platform that's your website, and that's where we go to, but you also use it to work with other people with similar interests.
Yeah, and even just outside the social media space. So when I got in, it was all about, okay, when I eventually got in the industry, it was like, okay, which brand can I work with? Which brand can I get? And that was fun and exciting. And then you work with all the brands, right? And then it's like, okay, what next? And through collaboration and meeting other people who are in different industries, you realize, oh, there's more to this world. So now I can have my own media company. So in the way that I've started running my YouTube channel, because I recognized in myself that I don't like vlogging. I don't like people seeing me make my bed. And it works for some people, but for me, it feels a bit too personal. But it feels like that's what the world is pushing in on YouTube. But now when you start talking to other people in different businesses, you realize, so if they can run their media company like that, what's stopping me from running my YouTube channel like that media company, right? I've got all the products, so why not? I've got all the equipment. So with my YouTube channel now, I run it like a whole production house. Like I have shows going there, they stop, sometimes I've got this segment. So now I'm not giving my life, but I'm still giving an element of lifestyle that people look for in a vlog without compromising myself. But that can only come through connecting with other people. And just back to the whole leadership thing, something that I picked up, I was going through a phase in my business, Wisdom and Wellness, where I'm trying to grow it, but I was feeling so much pressure, right? And I just started doing things that I'm seeing online that I should be doing. But I found myself frustrated and I took a step back. And then the other day I saw a businesswoman I really, really respect at 9:30 in the morning, and she was wearing her sneakers on the phone going to get some groceries. And something in me was like, oh, look at her. I was putting myself under pressure that a businesswoman can't be just strolling at Woolworths at 9:30. I should be grinding. And now I'm bringing it back to this leadership thing. In a world where hustle culture is pushed, where you feel like you're behind because you think, oh, this one is waking up at this time, and you're thinking they're constantly grinding, and you feel like, oh, no, I'm not doing enough. I think it's important for us as leaders in the space to give full representation. Let me show when I'm resting. Let me show when I'm having fun. Let me show when I'm working. The work element is very, very important. But the world is also changing. People don't want to work all day anymore. We need to start considering that we're not hiring machines only, but people, their lives are holistic. And in allowing people to have a holistic experience, then they bring so much more into the business.
You reminded me of it. There's a popular video. I mean, how incredible. On TikTok, I think it is, where someone says real winners don't sleep. And the young man, we want to sleep. Buhle, AFI has managed to evolve, keep up with the times. How have you been able to stay ahead of the pack?
You know, AFI is currently, 15 years, we're now in our 16th year, and we started as a fashion events company. We just used to have the most amazing fashion weeks, but we've now had to diversify and say, okay, cool, we host these amazing fashion weeks, but where do people get these garments? Because that's the situation where people felt like, oh, it's beautiful, we can look at it, but where do we buy it? So we have opened a e-commerce platform called AFI Online Store, and also House of Nala Santon City, where you can actually see some of the best designs done by Pan-African designers. So it's just been us realizing that we also need to constantly be changing. It can't just be about throw an amazing fashion week. Even fashion week happening every time. It's not a new story anymore, but it's how you position that fashion week. So even when we do the fashion week, it's like you've got fashion week here, and then you've got a retail pop-up happening. So you can see it on the runway, you can get it 5 minutes later if you really want it. So it's us realizing that the changing model of the business of fashion, it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. We always need to be innovating,
Right.
always need to be making and finding opportunities so that the designers that we platform can make a living as well.
Most important fashion week question. Are you going to allow me to walk at the next one?
I mean, we're all about diversity, so
I've got the height. I'm not sure
and
about
you've
the
got
weight.
the walk, and you look good in your suit. So what's stopping you to do that? Come to casting. Come to casting. We'll make it work.
I'm about to put all these models out of business. As we conclude then, two things I'd like you all to do for me, and I'll start with you, Ayanda, and we'll work our way across again. A word for young entrepreneurs or new graduates who are here today, who are interested in the work that you all do, different as it is, and B, an opportunity then to punt what you guys do. Ayanda? Punt what you do, but first start with a word then, something that you would leave with the guys here tonight. Not tonight, excuse me, you can tell I'm an evening shift worker. I'm a night owl, apologies. We start with a word to help them leave here and be able to pursue a career in the digital sphere, and B, punt your business.
When you say punt, like...
Punt, like what you do, sell it.
Okay.
The elevator pitch.
Yeah. Okay, the first word is start. I think that's the only word I have for you, start. Punt the business, what we do is, as Kula, I think we're excited to continue doing Innovation Agri, and I think I'm excited to even interact with young people that want to be in this kind of space, because there's so many opportunities for tech and agri, and I think what we particularly doing hopefully will change the way we do things in financing for farmers, providing access to farmers that would not traditionally have access to finance because of maybe the traditional means of financing, and I think being part of that, providing market access, which there's already barriers around that. And so I would say it's very hard to punt what we're doing, but rather just share the...
Where do we find you?
Where do you find us? Online. We've got an app. I've got the team here that's excited to share, but I think there is, everyone here is probably exploring, looking what tech does, but there is so many opportunities and exciting things we're working on with really key partners that who believe in our vision, which is amazing, and the 11,000 farmers we have that believe in our vision. So, yeah.
Ngceba, how do we, give us a word, how do we find you, how do we work with you, how do we get help from you?
Great. My word is accountability. I think it's important to hold yourself accountable to the success that you want to see in your own life. And punting the business. So Grindstone is an entrepreneurship development program. We engineer high-growth entrepreneurs that are in tech or tech-enabled businesses. We're currently looking for women in tech or non-tech, but also women in the green economy. So if you are a young entrepreneur interested in being accelerated, please do contact me. You can find me at Kabazi on LinkedIn, but also grindstonexl.com. But we will also be here to chat, so open to sharing really all of our opportunities with you. We also do have an online academy for those of you not ready with acceleration, where you can really just take it in your own pace, really just understanding things around strategy, branding and marketing, legal and IP, finance and evaluation. But yeah, really everything business related and entrepreneurship related. So.
My phrase is, how can I serve? Look for opportunities to serve, look for opportunities to get involved, look for opportunities to know what is going on. Know a little bit about everything. Don't be that person who just comes in like, oh, what's your favorite color? No, ask the right and relevant question. You'll be amazed what opportunities it can get you. And then to sell myself, so I've got two businesses. Can I sell both of them? Okay.
Take all our money.
Okay. So the first one is in my personal capacity, Mpumile Doba, the international speaker, Forbes 30 under 30 women. So if you're looking for a speaker, I'm your girl. And podcast host. And then I own a digital hub called Wisdom and Wellness. It is the Google, the Vogue of wellness. If you need any information about holistic wellness, I'm talking about spiritual, financial, physical wellness, go to Wisdom and Wellness. You can visit us on Instagram and on YouTube, and especially on our audio podcast. You will learn a lot from people who have done incredible things and share the practical things they have done in their journeys.
Buhle?
Okay, so my word is learn, because it's all about learning new things every day. A podcaster that I really, really enjoy called Kid Fury of a Podcaster Read, he always used to say, Google is your friend. Google will never let you down. Google will always give you all the answers that you need, even when you feel like you're being stupid. But Google will come through for you and make sure that you're smart. So what I do is that I write amazing content for African Fashion International, which is available on our website, africanfashioninternational.com. Just look for the blog, you'll find it there. But of course, I've also said that I work for AFI, and we do amazing fashion events, fashion marketing, and also we have an amazing retail platform. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the African fashion industry, we have a stand at the expo side for our AFI Fast Track, where you can actually interact with our fashion development designers who are finalists for this year's AFI Fast Track, and you just get to learn more about the company and also about the opportunities that are available for young fashion designers.
Buhle Mbonambi, thank you very much. Mpumile Dwaba, Nongweba Kabazi, and Ayanda Vana. It's such a pleasure, really.
Yes,
just speaking, right? It felt
way
short,
too
but
short.
You guys were incredible. Thank you so much for sharing of your time and everything that you have learned over the years.